Just very quickly, anything to save the situation right now?
I think Tamanna, as you said, it's a free fall, and I think in this kind of market, it's very difficult to qualify as to where the markets would settle down. But 23,000 getting broken is definitely not a good sign. I think this was a level which was being monitored for a very long time. If we don't regain 23,000 on the closing today, then I think a further fall definitely can be expected. So I think you have got to just wait and watch. I think in this free fall, it's very difficult to visualize what level the markets could actually finally settle down and what kind of geopolitical developments happen in the next few weeks, at least on the weekend. So I think just wait and watch. We can't do anything more about it.
Avinash, a few days ago, the question was whether this would spread beyond the confines of the countries that are participating right now. Once it was clear that NATO, etc., are not joining this, it seemed like we were safer. But the fact that oil refineries, gas sites, gas fields are being attacked left, right and center, does this mean that we might see pain which is prolonged for some point? Would you look at an HPCL, BPCL in IOC in any form or fashion right now? And if you hold it, what would you do?
No, I think Tamanna, fresh buying we have been telling our clients to avoid, especially the oil marketing companies. And I think how bad the situation would get would depend on how long this war drags on. I think next 3 to 4 weeks, if this war continues in the same momentum, then I think it's going to be painful for the Indian economy. I think gas prices have also gone up. We have just read that in Europe, gas prices have shot up. Oil has also crossed around 112 to $113 a barrel. Plus the rupee has now crossed over 93 rupees. So, these are obviously factors which are going to keep the markets depressed for some more time, unless we see some macro changes in these factors happening. And plus, today would be an interesting day today to see what is the amount of selling which has come from the FIs. FIs have been selling left and right. So today's number would be very important to watch. And what are the, domestic mutual funds doing? Because today being a very big drawdown day, one will like to see these numbers. So I think, clearly fresh buying at this level is definitely not advisable. It's better to wait and watch. I think let the market settle down. I think there's no hurry. Entry points can definitely be made at a later point of time. So, in these kind of volatile markets when everything is confusing and, which is not improving, it's better to stay put and just observe the markets for some time.
From a fundamental perspective, Avinash, would you hazard a guess, and not hazard a guess, but would you use a strategy to go on and buy the dip right now? Because it's always dangerous. People have done that through the crisis so far, and it's not really proven its worth just yet. So would you hold your horses? Would you wait on the sidelines, or would you go out and buy right now?
No, Alex, I think if I were to buy, I would buy largely the domestic facing sectors, not sectors which are, anyway having any kind of connectivity with the crude or typically with the, export oriented kind of, rupee kind of issue. So I think, domestic sectors like infrastructure, capital goods, hotels, hospitals, these could be good pockets where you could get good value. Companies like Apollo Hospital, Yatharth Hospital, pharma companies, these could be good defensive bets in this kind of market. But I think the broad sense in the market is that once 23,000 gets broken, there could be another wave of selling. And I think as everyone is aware, we really don't know how long this war will continue. Another 2, 3, 4 weeks if this war continues, which I think it looks possible, then I think it's going to be definitely a bad period for the first quarter of next financial year. That is April to June. The January to March numbers may not be impacted, but I think corporate earnings also could get impacted. And that's probably the reason why, Alex, you're seeing banking also getting hammered, largely because banks are fearing that possibly their asset quality on the books could also get a little more deteriorated. So I think, you need to be a little careful. Even if you need to invest in this market, Alex, it's better that you don't use all your ammunition at the same time. Maybe you do a small, piecemeal approach and wait for the markets to settle down. That's the only way we can look at it.
Looking for, I would say, defensive plays of safer kind of stories or investment ideas. Would pharmaceuticals be one of them? I want to come to Avinash with that question. Tomorrow is actually a big day for the Indian pharmaceutical industry. Is that a play that you would be interested in looking at right now, Avinash, notwithstanding what's on the screen?
Yeah, I think companies like Divi's Laboratories, typically something like Sun Pharma or maybe a Biocon. I think these could definitely be good bets. In fact, in a market like this, you could probably get these companies also at lower levels, and that definitely would play off in the near term. So yes, pharma is definitely a defensive space, and I think even the hospital space, Tamanna, as I was mentioning you earlier, this is a very steady compounding kind of space. Companies like Apollo, companies like Yathar Hospital, the hospital space is something which is growing quite rapidly. So this could be another area where possibly, the investors could see some amount of protection and where capital could grow at a decent pace. So, in this kind of market, it's better to play on something which is, more mature and going at a steady pace. I think, obviously the upstream companies like ONGC, companies like Coal India, even companies like ITC, these could also figure into the list. But I think you need to take a slightly longer term call because in this market, fundamentals are completely being ignored. I think the markets are purely driven by the geopolitical scenario.